And just like that, Halloween Horror Nights is just about over. Let's reflect on it. Hola everybody, Josh here and welcome back to another video. And today we're just gonna sit here and reflect all things Halloween Horror Nights, all the good things that I love, but also highlighting all the things that I was kind of upset about. Let's get into it. So right off the bat, I loved this year. Best year ever. I've been going to Halloween Horror Nights since it's been like 3 years now since I've been going to Halloween Horror Nights, and I have to say, this blew past everything. Now I will say I did like some of the house selections last year, but this year, as far as lore and everything, they killed it. Off rip, let's talk about this guy. Yep, Dr. Oddfellow. And y'all are probably wondering where I got this from. This is actually a gift that they give you as an AP holder. It's you get it at Five and Dine, right across where the Jurassic Park tribute store is, and it's just a cool card picture of him, and it actually has a whole bio about him. So this is really cool, something I want to frame. But yeah, Dr. Oddfellow, wow. Learning about his story of how he got his power was amazing. If you are like a huge Halloween Horror Nights fan, this is like everything, right? Like, you know, usually we have Jack Schmidt or Jack the Clown's what we have, but we have the Caretaker and all these guys. But Dr. Oddfellow falls in the same lore as Jack the Clown. He is basically the person who created Jack the Clown. If you want to learn more about Dr. Oddfellow and the whole lore of all that, make sure you go check out that video that I did when I was listening to Universal's podcast, and they broke down everything and they explained all the scare zones and just who he was, because we know who he was at a certain level, but not as much detail as we know now come this event. So make sure you go check out that video if you want to learn more about the lore. I'll put it down in the description, but also put like a sticker up here somewhere so you can check that out. Now let's talk scare zones. Oh my God, they killed them this year. I love that all of them had a good story. Now I will say 2 of them were underwhelming in a sense, but we'll get into that in a minute. But the overall story of telling Dr. Oddfellow's history, it all made sense. Like the way that they organized the scare zones, it made that a journey on its own outside from the houses. And you can actually spend a lot of time learning what these scare zones are about. And I'm telling you, it made so much of a difference doing the homework and listening to that podcast by Universal, because everything just made way more sense as you're there in real life watching this stuff. And Universal, you killed it. That's one of my favorite things this year, the lore and how you did the scare zones this year. Because, you know, last year and years before, it's more like, you know, just different themed scare zones like this year, obviously, but they don't really connect with each other. And that's fine, right? That's not necessarily a bad thing, but when you do make a connection between all of them, it makes it that much more amazing and entertaining and interesting, in my opinion. Now I do have 2 exceptions to talk about with the scare zones. The first one being Dr. Oddfellow's Collection of Horror, which is the very first scare zone you see when you first walk into the park. That scare zone only makes sense if you go to the open ceremony. If you don't go to that, you're not gonna get it. It is the most random scare zone ever, and there's really not much there. Yeah, the characters on stilts are really cool, but you don't really get the story that well there. And that's probably my one thing, especially the amount of real estate that they could have used. Yeah, they pushed up the entrance more, but I would have expected they used up more of that space. But like, I guess there's like this whole thing with illumination that they don't want any Halloween Horror Nights stuff in their area. I don't even know the whole thing about it, but it's just something I heard, right? But I only wish for next time that it's not as underwhelming, because past years there were way more scare actors there before. And you know, maybe weather is a thing, because I do know they have like crazy prosthetics and stuff like that. So I don't know, it was just a little underwhelming, but not as underwhelming as my next thing to talk about. And my next scare zone I want to talk about is Shipyard 32. Listen, The scare actors were great. They did their job. They did everything that was asked of them. It's just overall, I expected more when it comes to Dr. Oddfellow's story. You don't even see Dr. Oddfellow there. That is the one scare zone where you don't see him. And it is like not necessarily a part of his story that's talked about on the podcast. And again, I can't stress enough, go check out that podcast if you really want to learn about this. But anyways, given that, you know, I expected to see him there and like, you know, just explain his story there a little bit more. It just felt a little bit abstract in a weird way. Cause like, you know, you see the fairy in the jail cell. I don't necessarily know how that goes along with it. I would have expected more of like the monsters like what you see at Dark Zodiac and at Jungle of Doom, where it's his creations, right? And I didn't feel like that these creatures were his creations. It just felt more random in my opinion. But again, the scare actors, y'all killed it. Y'all did your jobs. It was great for what it was. I just am going in detail of things of what I would have wanted. Now, when it comes to my most favorite scare zone, I gotta give it to VAMP 69. I know that's very subjective. People might like Jungle of Doom more. Jungle of Doom is a very close tie with VAMP 69. But the reality is that I interacted with these scare actors the most. They were amazing. It's just the way they talk to you, the way they go on that stage, and just the interaction with the guests. I think they killed it in my opinion. But Jungle Doom, you all came in a very close second place, or it's almost a tie, really. Like, I'm really blown away by it. Really, as I'm thinking about it more as I'm talking to you guys, I would put both of them at first place and Dark Zodiac at second place because, man, their costumes were so cool. I love the chainsaw guys. I kind of am jealous I didn't get to be a scare actor and wear that really cool costume. So, hey, Dark Zodiac, y'all killed it too. Literally everybody killed it. This is just my personal opinions of going in detail with everything. All right, so let's talk about houses now because I know that's what most of you all want to hear about, right? So my favorite house of the year, I gotta give it to Universal Monsters Unmasked. Oh my God, y'all killed it. I'm telling you, like the amount of theming in there, the scares, definitely the scariest house of the year in my opinion. I mean, the one scene where a guy's just jumping off of a ledge that's gonna look like he's gonna fall on you. Oh my God, that was crazy. The rain at the beginning when you first walk in. I'm telling you guys, Universal Unmasked, definitely my favorite one of the year. Now, second place, I gotta give it to The Darkest Deal. I mean, the music is awesome, the story is great, that finale at the end of the house, and just like the bar experience or like atmosphere, really, the bar atmosphere. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing really bad to say about it. Now in third place, I gotta give it to Yeti Campground Kills. I love Yeti themed things. I like watching like gameplay of like different video games of that. I used to watch Hunting Bigfoot or something like that on Animal Planet. That was really cool. I just find the story awesome. And also, one of my favorite rides at Disney World is Expedition Everest. So I have a huge interest in Sasquatches and stuff like that. So definitely got to give that house its credit. And I just love the campground atmosphere. And it was awesome. The only thing that I wish they implemented more in the house was, in the description, it talks about how you have to escape to the tower to be safe from the Yeti. And you know, I wish they implemented something where we were going up that watchtower so we can run away from him. But otherwise, love the house. Now, next house, I got to give it to Dr. Oddfellow's Twisted Origins. Now, this one's subjective because I know people are probably going to have it lower than where I have it. But again, because I'm in so much love with the lore of all this, I have to rate it that high. Now, I will say, my first time going through it, I was a little upset. There were a lot of areas that were empty where there was no scare actor. I don't know if it was because they were bumping each other, going like going to their next set, or if they're going on break or whatever the case may be. But when I went my second time, it was a lot better. I got all the scares that I was supposed to get. None of the areas were empty. I love the story of this because if you are a fan of Jack the Clown, that house, that's where it happened. That's where Jack was created. There's the one scene, honestly, you have to like go back and really look at it so you don't miss it. But there's a projection of a silhouette of Dr. Oddfellow killing Jack. Now, I don't remember seeing the resurrection part where Jack gets resurrected, but you see the part where he kills him. So yeah, that alone makes it that much worth it to me. And if you're into the lore of it, I gotta rate this house as high as I did. Now moving on to the next house, I gotta give it to Dueling Dragons, right? Classic attraction. I never got the opportunity to go on it. I was afraid of roller coasters at that time, but my sister loved it. Actually, she didn't even go on the original Dueling Dragons. She went on what it became, I think it was called Dragon Challenger or something like that, when Harry Potter opened up and stuff like that. But great theming. I love that there were different endings, so it made it that much more worth it to go multiple times. I did, let me think. I think I just did each path one time. And yeah, there's 4 different endings you could get, and it was pretty cool. Not something I was crazy about, but theming was amazing. The ending was great with the 2 dragons, and then you pick your path. I thought that was a nice touch that Universal did. And yeah, great house overall. And right below Dueling Dragons, I'm gonna put Stranger Things. Now, I know on people's ratings, you're gonna probably put this house way higher than where I put it. The cold hard reality for me in putting this house as low is I have to finish the show. So when I went in there, I definitely got the vibe of being in the show, right? Theming was perfect. I heard like it was pretty like concrete to what the show is, which is great. If you're a big Stranger Things fan, I'm glad that you enjoyed it. You probably have it #1 on your list. It's just, I had to finish the show, right? And there were a lot of things that I didn't understand in the house because I need to finish the show. But theming was on point from what I've been told. And yeah, so good for Universal making an amazing house that people seem to love a lot. So heck yeah. And right below Stranger Things, I gotta give it to Blood Moon. That house was awesome. Definitely loved it. The whole theme was crazy. Definitely one of the more scarier houses there. Now, why do I have it so low? It's just that emotionally, the other houses just have more sentimental value to me. Actually, now that I think about it, I think I'm gonna put Blood Moon above Stranger Things, and there's Stranger Things below that for that reason. So we're gonna flip-flop that real quick, right? So it's Dueling Dragons, Blood Moon, and then Stranger Things. But yeah, speaking back on Blood Moon, it was great. There was a lot of scenes where the scare actors blended in very well, and just the overall plot of you getting attacked because you're not a Blood Moon supporter, I think it was just very funny, but a very good plot. So good for them. All right, this one's gonna be a surprise for all of you, but next I'm actually putting Chucky right after Stranger Things. And yeah, a lot of you probably don't agree with that one either. And the reason I'm putting Chucky where I have it is generally I thought it was a great house. And I have a huge appreciation to the amount of money that Universal probably put into that house. I mean, did you all know that the dolls that are in there are authentic to the movie, or like the show rather? Yeah, that's crazy. I don't even know the amount of money they spent on those dolls, but it was a great house. I can't complain, and I love how they implemented Chucky. I had all the questions in the world how they're gonna implement this toy, but just like the costumes they made of like Chucky attacking the scare actors, they played it off really well. And I have a huge appreciation for that. So Universal, y'all killed it with that one. I was really happy with it. I know a lot of you probably won't agree with it, but that's where I have it. Now, next house is gonna be a surprise to some people. Well, it shouldn't be a shock at this point, but I'm gonna put The Last of Us next below Chucky. And I know some of y'all would even put Last of Us above Chucky, but honestly, my humble opinion is I thought the house was underwhelming. I was told at Universal Hollywood that they did it way better than how we did it here in Orlando. I don't know, I haven't been. I'm only going off of what I saw here in Orlando, and just in my opinion, I just was underwhelmed. Like, not even getting into the house, I was really annoyed by how long this line was. Like, it definitely had like the longest wait times throughout the whole season. But man, you look at that queue and it's just barricade after barricade after barricade, just a zigzag going over and over. And I don't know, I just didn't understand the hype with it. I thought the house focused more on the clickers and not so much on the main characters, which is why I love The Last of Us so much more than The Walking Dead and stuff like that, which, mind you, I'm not into like a zombie apocalypse things or stuff of that nature. But I love The Last of Us because the plot was about the two main characters and not so much on the clickers. The clickers was just like zombie looking creatures attacking others. I don't know, I'm not really big into the Last of Us lore. I haven't really played the video game, but based off of the show, and I know that this house was more off of the video games, but again, there's so many reviews of the show being almost concrete to the video games. I just felt like they were more focused on the clickers than the characters, and that's why I have to rate it this low. And finally, at the very bottom, I have to put The Exorcist. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but literally this house is solely based off of the trailer of the movie, not the movie itself, because mind you, this house came out before the movie came out. So they only had the trailer to go off of. Well, maybe not necessarily, because it is a movie by Universal, so obviously they know what the movie's about. But generally, listen, man, I don't know. Exorcist movies are just not the same as the first one. The first one was definitely a masterpiece, but just seems to have been going like downhill ever since. But not a bad house, just was the one I was leastly excited, or like the most least excited about. Hi, Cal. I hope he stays here for the rest of the video. This would be awesome. And finally, the last thing to talk about from the entertainment aspect is Nightmare Fuel. This was definitely 100 times better than last year, in my opinion. And a lot of you probably don't know this, but this is the last year that they are doing Nightmare Fuel, which we're going to get into what the future holds for the company later on in the video. But yeah, it makes me sad that, you know, they're going away. We don't know what's going to come next, but they definitely killed it this year. I can't imagine ever doing what they do on stage. So mad props for you guys. Like, that cast, good for you guys. Now let's talk about the tribute store. So again, I did my homework on the tribute store with the help of the Universal podcast, where they interviewed a couple of the team members that were part of Universal Creative that made the tribute store. And if y'all want to know what basically the tribute store was this year, it was different excerpts of comic books. Like, you're inside of a comic book and there's these monsters just causing havoc in these different scenes. So each room is a different story in the comic book. And I found that really fun, because something that they did unique to this year is this right here. Universal Creative made a comic book to go with the tribute store. And I love this so much. This is amazing. I already read the comic book. I want to keep this one sealed because I want to frame these. I have a couple of these. But actually, I want to show you guys something really cool that I got. Now, I haven't opened this yet because I wanted to save it for this video. So, let's open it. Gotta be careful here. All right, you guys ready? Here we go. Check it out. So this is actually the second edition of the comic book, right? Here's the third one, what I showed you earlier. It's actually the Halloween version too. But what's really cool about the second edition is, you guys see it? Oh yeah, these are the signatures from the members of Universal Creative that made the tribute store. They went out one night and they were signing signature, or they were giving their autographs on different merchandise that they had at the store. And man, when I saw this, I had to get it. Because ideally what I want to do is make a big frame of all the things from HHN this year, because it was just so memorable for me. And man, to have this in my possession, this means the world. And again, if you listen to the Universal podcast, you hear these members on their podcast talking about the tribute store and explaining the story and everything. So yeah, they definitely killed it with the tribute store. I love the merch this year. We walked away with quite a few stuff, and I don't know, they're kind of all over the place, but definitely love the merch this year. And finally, the last thing I want to talk about is the food at HHN. Again, this kind of goes into the bad things that I didn't like this year, but I will give high praise to the walking taco. Whoever is the chef that made that, amazing. I mean, it was such a great idea, taking a big Frito bag and like putting a bunch of Fritos in there with ground beef, sour cream, you know, all your taco things. That was amazing. So I definitely love the walking taco. But that's all I can really say about the food, right? And I'm gonna get into all that now with the next thing. So these are my two biggest complaints about this year. And, you know, I'm happy to share this on camera, because at the end of the day, y'all, I'm gonna get on this camera and be very blunt and just honest with how I feel. Like, you always hear these things of people doing honest reviews or whatever, but you know, I don't even believe I have to put honest review on a video because you will always get my honest opinion. So the first thing is actually the food. Not so much the quality, actually sort of the quality, right? Because there were some things I got and they were not good quality at all. But my biggest thing was the price of the food, right? I would have been okay if they were charging like food and wine prices like what they do at Disney. But man, like they were charging almost $14 for a slider with peanut butter on it. That is ridiculous. I'm sorry. It was good, don't get me wrong, but $14 did not make it taste good. So I think they need to reevaluate the price of what they're charging their food offerings. Because like I just feel like they're charging it at a value that I don't think it should be at. Because you know, when you look at Disney down the street and how they price food and wine, I mean, there's things with bigger portions for that price, you know, so that's my biggest thing with that. And speaking back on the food quality, generally the things were okay, but man, I got the ravioli one time where the Last of Us section is, where the, you know, the Fedro stands are. Man, the ravioli was cold and it was very chewy, so it was undercooked. So obviously I did get a new one when that happened, and they apologized, as they should, you know, things happen. But again, because of things like that, I just wasn't really happy with the food. But again, Walking Taco was amazing. But again, like I'm not really too upset about the food, but the next thing I am kind of really upset about. Okay, let me zoom out here so we can see photo comparisons. But the biggest thing that bothered me this year with Halloween Horror Nights is I noticed, specifically at Vamp 69, how prosthetics went away mid-event. Now, I don't know the reason as to why. I'm sure they have their reasons, but I just hope it wasn't for something stupid, right? Because that annoyed me. Because when you look at something like this and you compare it to something like this, you cannot tell me that this looks better than this. The amount of more detail here is like not even comparable. So Universal, I don't know the reason why you got rid of prosthetics mid-event, but that was a wrong move in my opinion. I would not have done that. I don't know if it could have been because of the rain. Like I said, I don't know the reason, but it should have never gone away, because you can't even compare the difference in detail with these costumes. And I don't know how the scare actors feel about this. I'm sure they weren't happy about it if I was a betting man, but please don't do that again, man, because that made me upset. It really did. Hey guys, Future Josh here. I wanted to come on here because I don't think I explained correctly what I meant by mid-event. But what I mean is, from some point in late September to early October, they got rid of the prosthetics on the scare actors' faces. Just wanted to clarify, that's what I mean by mid-event. You guys have no idea how I wanted to get that off of my chest because it bothered me so much. Why would they do that, bro? It makes no sense to me. Whatever it is, I just hope it doesn't happen in the future, right? So in conclusion to all of this, what does the future hold for Universal Studios? Now, again, this is all my opinion. I have no basis on any of this, but a big problem that I saw with Universal is they were going sold out a lot. And why is that a big, obviously like that's good news, right? But why is that a big deal? Well, I'm sure they would want to sell as much as possible, but the problem with Universal is you can only have so much space in that park. And I find, based on just doing research, there are two solutions to this. The first one being we expand, right? We use Islands of Adventure, and then we operate in a two-park system. I mean, there's different back doors that Universal has. They can go from Universal to Islands and vice versa. So it's been done before where they've done Halloween Horror Nights strictly at Islands of Adventure. So maybe they'll merge the two. But I don't think that's gonna be the solution. Here's what I think. There's a park opening 2 years from now, guys. Roughly almost a year from now. We're going to 2024 in 2 months. Epic Universe is the same size as Universal and Islands of Adventure combined. My feelings are Halloween Horror Nights is coming to Epic Universe. Yeah, mind blown. I think that's actually gonna be the case, or who knows, maybe they'll offer it at both parks. Again, the ideas are limitless, and I think Universal knows what they're doing. I mean, they are on the come up. I'm telling you all, Universal is definitely on the come up. I mean, did you all know that they got their own district? The thing that Disney lost, they have their own district now. Insane, crazy. The other thing I really want to talk about was, I mentioned earlier that Nightmare Fuel's going away. I feel like something's happening with that stage, guys. I think it's going away and we're gonna get some sort of expansion for Harry Potter. So again, I'm glad that HHN, well, really, I'm sad that it's over, but I'm excited at the same time because based on the results that Universal got this year, we're gonna get so much more. Maybe not next year in 2025, but in 2026, definitely. I'm telling you, that stage is probably going away and we're finally getting our expansion for Harry Potter. So yeah, a lot of exciting things happening for Universal with the new district and just like the overall feedback with everything. So I am very excited for everybody at Universal. It really is an exciting time, but please Universal, please, like it bothered me so much. Don't do what you did, especially at Vamp 69, because I'm telling you, if nobody saw it, I saw it, and I'm gonna highlight that stuff because I just wasn't happy with what they did when it came to the makeup of the scare actors. But with that being said, everybody, thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any feedback to leave me or for Universal, you can put it down in the comments. Did you go to the event? Did you not go? What was your favorite thing? Do you agree with anything? Do you disagree with anything I said? Leave it all down below and I will respond to you. But with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. We have so much coming up with the holiday season coming. There's already Christmas decorations going up in the theme parks that we got to talk about. But thank you to the entire cast of Halloween Horror Nights. I did make a reel of me giving out instax to the different scare actors. I'll go ahead and leave a link to that in the description down below as well if you want to check that out. But from the bottom of my heart, I really love you guys. Thank you so much. And just shout out to all the scare actors. Y'all killed it this year. But all right, guys. Till next time, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, do all that fun stuff because it will leave a smile on my face. And I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.